Everyday Resonance does not provide psychotherapy or medical services and is not a substitute for these services. If you have or may have a psychological or medical condition, please see a licensed professional. Hi everyone, I'm Priya Patel.
And I'm Daniel Sunshine, and you're watching another episode of Everyday Resonance, where we really look at ourselves closely, I think, and this process of looking at how we resonate in the world every day. How are we bringing ourselves into the world? And that really impacts how the world brings itself to us.
Absolutely. We dive into conversations with each other, sometimes incredible guests, related
Like today.
related to topics related to the human experience, everything from love, relationships, work, and how you're bringing yourself personally into the world. And that's today's topic. We're talking about self-resonance. And our guest today is a beautiful person, heart and soul, Elizabeth DeMores. And she is here, local to Dallas. She's an internationally certified transformation coach and calls herself a confidence and success catalyst, helping high-achieving women get out of the way of themselves, not only in life, but also business. Her gift is to help you master the art of being your fully expressed and confident self while unleashing your unique inner and outer stylish it factor. Combining her multi-talents of deep inner transformative work, along with her love and impressive experiences of all things performing, fashion, and personal branding. The women and rising stars she works with have accomplished much in the realms of life, business, corporate America, the entertainment industry, but there is still a sense that they have so much more inside of them that is waiting to be created and released into the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for joining us
Thank you
today.
for having me.
Yeah, thank you. And so getting out of the way of ourself, it sounds like it's such a, I think, the majority of times that I might have a conversation with someone about what they're working on in terms of bettering their life, a lot of that is about this concept of getting out of the way of ourselves, even in the case of extremely successful people. How do I get even more out of the way of myself?
Correct.
So let's start with that question.
Definitely.
How does one do that?
That is a big question. When I speak to a lot of women, that is one of their biggest challenges. They just I just wish I could get out of the way of myself. I have so much more to share with the world. But I don't know how to get out of the way of myself. And the thing is that I think so often, or I know so often, is that we guide our self-confidence and our self-worth so often from the outside.
Right.
We are waiting for other people, other things to validate who we are, who we are in the world, what we have to offer and bring to the world. And so we're relying on all these outside sources instead of going from an inner part of ourselves, that inner guidance. And so we get confused. We learn from, often a young age to not listen to that inner guidance. To be quiet, do as you're told, all of that. So we have this disconnect of what our inner guidance is wanting to do, and then with the outside telling us what to do, and so we get confused. And so it's important, the first step to get out of the way of yourself, is to come back to that inner guidance, to get quiet. So I often tell people that first step in terms of developing your confidence and getting out of the way of yourself is to get rid of all the outside noise. Get rid of social media for a while. Stop watching the news. Stop trying to ask people for advice or their opinion of you, or do I look good in this? You start going, okay, where do I feel good? Where can I learn from myself, from my higher power, and go from there first? And that would be the first step.
Wow, what a great transformation.
And a lot of what you said sounds like parts of it could be meditative.
Oh, very
really
much
shutting
so.
out the
Very
outside
much so.
world, and because it is the outside world, our environment, our circumstances, our way of thinking, which could be the resonance that we're bringing into the world at that moment in time, is what is impacting our decisions.
And the self-limiting beliefs that we've developed over time impact that as well.
And so
yeah,
this,
but
yeah, go ahead.
meditation is a huge part of it, and visualization and going from that place.
That's really interesting. So the first step is really reorienting ourselves
Correct.
from this outward focus, from judging myself based on outward input, to an inner focus, to starting to align with my inner guidance, with what I'm hearing from an inner perspective. You refer to it as aligning with our higher self, or maybe
completely.
with some people it might be
And
with God, or whatever
Yeah,
God is to the
a
individual.
recalibration to that.
Recalibration to an inner experience. And so from there, it sounds like, so, and then you brought up meditative elements. So let's see. So maybe let's look at that a little further before we maybe continue walking down this path of being this courage and success catalyst that you are. So looking at this experience of going inward further, just tell us more. What might come up on that journey for the clients that you work with, for the individuals that you work with?
They start finding where they're wounded, and where they start finding out what their limiting beliefs are, because those limiting beliefs are in our subconscious often, right? And we're not even aware of what's running the show, and that's what's running the show. So when they become meditative, when they go inward, they start realizing, I'm living my life from this limiting belief and this limiting belief. Everything seems so conditional. And so then we can start, when we verbalize them, become aware of them, verbalize them, then we can start dissecting them and going, okay, is this your truth or is it not your truth? Then they can actively look at them and say, I'm actively going to choose this way. It's not my truth, and recalibrating.
What about those who are successful, as you work with? What about those who, let's say, some of them are celebrities that you are in touch with, where most people would say, well, they're already successful. In that sense, right, to the outside world, the appearance is that there may not be anything to work on.
Right.
That there is no limiting beliefs because they've got there somehow. What about in that case? What does it look like?
Those are big time assumptions. We assume that our celebrities out there, the successful people out there, have it all together. And usually the people who look like they have it all together, that are way out there, are often the ones that are just dying inside. You can have a high functioning CEO, for example, and she's dying inside because she's not in alignment with what she knows she's made for. But she's been put in that position. She's high achieving, so she's worked towards it. But then there are other elements that are still not in alignment. And so it's for those of us who might be watching other people who seem successful, it's all relative. Right. I mean, look at the different celebrities. Robin Williams 5 years ago killed himself. Kate Spade, like all these different
Kate
people.
Spade, that's right.
All these people who you would think, and Anthony Bourdain.
Anthony
all these people
Bourdain.
were just
I was
like,
just about
what?
to say his
You know?
name. May he rest in peace.
We all assume because they're celebrities and they're making money and all of this. We have no idea what's happening on the inside. And so it's important to understand that we're all first and foremost humans, living
Living in this body.
Yeah, from a celebrity perspective, I'm now in conversations around mindfulness, for certain sports teams.
Yes.
And one of the challenges is, when you are a celebrity, it seems like it can be very isolating. You're basically just being bombarded by people that are just wanting to greet you for your surface qualities, and it's very difficult to go in depth. So my guess is that actually would add extra layers of challenges. So from the resonance perspective, we look at one of the first steps as awareness, which I think Elizabeth is referring to, this awareness. Once we cut out this external noise, as I really love Elizabeth really stating that as a first step, then we can start to become aware of where the blocks are in our own path. And so then from there, we see the next step is healing, and the next step as alignment. Yeah. So then let's say as we identify our blocks, how do you help people walk down a path of resolving those things that stand in the way of them really aligning with their highest self?
Definitely. Well, some of the things would be just the awareness of them, and naming them in a sense.
That goes a long way.
Yeah, you can go, whoa, that's what's been running this. Okay, let me let go of that, right? The other thing is retraining the brain. And I'm sure you all, connecting the brain and the feelings and manifesting things where you are realizing where you can like retrain the brain to think in a different way and to have those different thoughts. You know, about 90 to 95% of our thoughts are subconscious. They're the same thoughts that we thought yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before. So if we are addressing those thoughts and shifting them, then we can move forward. Also, you know, in terms of the healing aspect, we can try to figure out where they came from. As a coach, I'm not one to like look way back and try to heal your, you know, all of those stories. But at the same time, sometimes again, when we name them, we can go, oh, that's where that belief came from. When I was 5 years old, such and such told me this, or this traumatic experience happened in my life, and bam, that's when I made that decision. Okay, that doesn't have to be my truth. Right. And so what I've done, and what I love helping my clients sometimes do too, if it warrants the, you know, the necessity, is to find pictures of themselves when they were little kids. Like I have a picture of myself where 2 of them. One is where it's like before anything, I'll say, happened to me, any you know, traumatic things happened to me, where it's this soul, this being that's just so exuberant. I'm like, that's my truth. That's who I am. And if I can reconnect with that, I can then start building from that. Then there's another picture where I'm like, oh, that's after certain things happened. How can I embrace her? How can I energetically, everything, just embrace her, hug on her, love on her, and tell her it's okay. And like, it'll get me all in teary. But it's things like that we can do to help people
really
get past.
fascinating. And actually this morning I posted one simple sentence that said, the self beyond conditioning is pure.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is, you know, there's different types of self. There's pure self, which is perfect as it is, born into this world, pure. Then there's the I am, which is conscious presence. Then there's the body self. And then in addition to that, there's the self that is combined with your conditioning, your experiences, your patterning. And that is the place that most humans move from. We're not really constantly aligning with the pure self, and the pure self is where we hit that alignment of my purpose, that pure self. And
We could get fearful of that.
yeah, so it's a lot of the work that you do helping people realign back to pure self.
I would say so, yeah.
Okay.
Because so many times because we are guided from the outside so often that we get fearful of that pure self. Like it's so big,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, some people say, I'm fear of fail. I have a fear of failure. So many people have a fear of success because they don't know how they're going to deal with that. Whereas if they just keep connecting with their source and that, you know, that pure self, that's where the magic happens. But there's this gap between outside and inside, right? And so it's like, how can we merge? How can we shrink that gap, but also mine within that gap to find the brilliance?
It sounds like that gap, there's a lot around comfort zone
Yes.
connected to that gap. And so this idea of our current patterning, maybe our current resonance, is very much related to our current comfort zone. You know, what feels in comfort for us, even though it might be in alignment with destructive patterns, maybe even
Completely.
self-sabotage, or
That's a
my
good
comfort
point.
zone could be self-sabotage. And so I know that you work a lot with those that you coach in relation to helping them break out of their comfort zone and into new ways of being that's more powerful and stronger. So what does that look like?
Definitely. Well, there are different things that I work with in terms of, you know, the science behind our brain and how we work in the world. And one is to understand how the brain and the body, all that how everything connects, right? And so, in terms of this addiction to our comfort zone, our body is literally addicted to whatever thoughts and feelings that come together. Our body is addicted to the chemicals, the endorphins, the hormones that are being produced from those thoughts and feelings. So you said, you know, I'm addicted. You didn't say you specifically are, but you said, you know, maybe you're addicted to self-sabotage. When you start having those thoughts of self-sabotage, your body produces those chemicals that you then go, ooh, okay, I got my hit, right? And if we try to shift, then the the brain goes, I need that hit back. And so you then start automatically, no matter how much willpower you have, your body will go, need it. And so it's a matter of recalibrating the brain, thinking new thoughts to create new feelings, to then really take an action, to then that the brain then can recalibrate into what you really desire to
What's the
believe.
shift? What
What's
is
the
that?
shift?
Yeah, what's
Yeah,
that
what is the
one
shift?
one moment? Because you mentioned that you'll have the willpower, but because
It
of these
doesn't work.
chemical, yes.
Yeah.
So what is the number one shift?
Is the decision.
It's MD, my yoga teacher, Crystal Ray. Gotta give her a shout out. She used to say, each one of us needs to be an MD, and we are an MD. Make a decision.
Yes,
Okay.
it's a decision. It's a
Wow,
decision.
can I call myself Dr. Sunshine?
Dr. Sunshine,
Yes.
make a decision.
So it really is making that decision,
Making the
because, and then
decision.
saying, okay, I'm putting that definitive line in the sand, because so many times we can go, oh yeah, this is what I'm going to do, and then we fall back, and we fall back. But it's saying, you know what, no more. I'm not this type of belief patterning, this type of behavior, this type of action is no longer serving me. I can no longer do this.
And that comes from an internal.
Totally.
That's an internal
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah, so this path is seeming to become somewhat clear, that we are becoming aware of our patterns in a sense.
Yes,
So we're becoming
very
aware
much
of
so.
them. Then we're finding ways to repattern, and then we're making a line in the sand that would empower us to make strong decisions in the moment over and over again when we see ourselves
Over
going
and
back.
over again.
So
Minute
now
by
we're in a
minute.
place of new decision making. Do people ever find that difficult? Like being in this new life where they're not used to being addicted to, let's say, self-sabotage, or maybe, it might be, I don't know, other types of self-defeating patterns. Where do people find themselves once they're on the other side of that equation?
I think people dance back and forth.
Yes.
Right, I don't
not
think
linear.
I don't think you just go, all right, I'm here, and you're gonna stay there,
Sure.
because we're human, and we still have outside sources that still impact us, so that will then trigger us to pull back. And so I don't think you're in either one all the time. I think we go back and forth, and so, but I think it's an ever expanding comfort zone,
Yeah.
right? And the place, and what I also recommend people doing is, you have your comfort zone. How about we, in our mind, just expand the comfort zone a little bit more in terms of trying new things that are still comfortable but are still new. And so we just kind of keep going, and then do things that are scary, and then go, oh, okay, now this is my new comfort zone, right?
Yeah, so baby steps to finding
Yeah.
a huge step.
But yeah, and then with the intention of, okay, today I'm going to live out of my comfort zone. I'm going to try something that scares me. I'm going to try something that puts me out of that comfort zone while still feeling in alignment,
Yeah.
and being in alignment.
The other thing I was thinking as to the question that you were saying is, I know for myself, my personal journey has not been linear at all. It has been this dance. But what I do notice is that the time span in between where I come back to awareness that, oh, I'm back to that same mindset, or I'm back to that self-limiting thought, the time span becomes shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. Because there's all this, like when somebody is opening up Pandora's box per se,
Yes.
there are many things that can come out, and those things can be very overwhelming and scary
Yes.
in itself. That could potentially in itself cause some self-sabotage.
Totally.
Right? So it is
And so it's constantly
it's constantly recalibrating, constantly recalibrating.
Yeah, and
Well
I
said.
often will
Makes a
tell
lot of sense.
I will tell my clients, okay, now you've just stepped out into this new awareness, this new out of your comfort zone. 100% of the time, I guarantee you're going to fall back.
Yeah. Well,
Because-
that's great that you say that.
Yeah, because we'll have, for example, we'll have a session. I'm like, yeah, they'll say, yes, I'm going to do this and that and that, and they go out and do stuff, and then all of a sudden they disappear for a little bit. And I'm like, there it was,
Oh.
There it was.
and so that's just what we do,
You-
and so just
You
keep
can
pushing.
read all the books in the world. You can have the most incredible teachers in the world, but until you are the person in itself doing the transformation,
person
you
who
have to, yeah, you like just having the knowledge is information, wisdom is transformation, and we all have this inner wisdom where we can transform.
We have to access.
And so I'm hearing make the decision, and then you can, but also have grace, compassion for the
Completely.
dance and the journey of the back and forth.
Definitely.
Amen.
Yes, we're done.
That's right. Okay. So that's a wrap. And okay, so I'm inspired
not
now about this gap between
Yes.
where we find ourselves and where we want to find ourselves, how we bring our greatest vision into the world. And so people, let's say, that are watching that maybe aren't going to have access to your valuable coaching, what would you suggest to them, just as some sort of tip where they can start trying? I know one of the first steps was removing yourself from all the outside
Yes.
and going inward. That's what comes to my mind first. I'd love to hear what comes to your
that's
mind.
what I was going to say. I
Okay,
was
let's
gonna
hear more
repeat
about
that,
it. Yeah, please.
Is to do a social media detox. We are so outwardly focused with our phones. We're addicted to our phones and to the media, which instantly puts you into comparison mode, puts you into, oh, I'm not enough, or oh, well, look what they're doing. I'm not doing that. I'm not as good of a mom as they are. All these different things that pop up that trigger all of those thoughts. So get rid of that for a week, 2, whatever you need.
A lifetime.
Yeah. But the thing is, when you're in business and all,
Right.
you have to be a
It's a
social
part
media.
of society now. It's part of the
No, I
culture now.
know.
So yeah.
Maybe not removed for your whole life. But
And then find and create a morning and evening ritual that that will help you set up your day and close your day with simple things of. And I'm sure you all practice this, but those who may not out there, set your day with intention. Be full of gratitude, and then what I like to do
Love
too
it.
is to have people journal all your frustrations. Just write them all out, because then you look at them, you're like, really, that's what I've been worrying about, and it's just all I need to do is make a phone call to fix the dishwasher. You just put it all out. You write then your intentions for the day, what you desire to
Achieve.
bring into your world, and then your gratitudes, and do the same in the evening. And then of course add some meditation. Find a meditative practice or a meditation practice. There's so many things you can find online.
Sure. Apps.
Well, not social media, but but apps definitely. And also YouTube has a lot of different things. So find something that works for you, and then also do some form of movement. And so whether it's yoga, stretching, running, something that you're moving the body. And so then that way you're putting those bookends to your morning and evening of how you want to create your day instead of your day creating you.
Wow,
And
that's really strong.
And then get rid of all the extra noise, and then start really getting deep, like listening to that intuitive nudge, or those nudges. What's next? What's the next best step? What's the next best step? And get used to that. And then start putting yourself out. So when I work with clients, I work from the inside, and then we go, okay, now we're going to go in like visualizing, clarifying, next into rehearsing in a sense, trying things out, and then it's dress rehearsal, and then it's showtime. So you went in showtime. Now you are
Good
you
stuff.
out
Time
in the
to
world
bring yourself
rather than-
into the world.
The world
Yeah, like
shaping
you have
you.
to come out like that, but
Yeah.
there's all different steps in between.
So you mentioned, how do we create our life instead of our life creating us? Actually, it was a little different language there, but often when I think of getting out of my own way, I think of surrendering to the
Total
flow of
surrender.
life.
And having faith.
Surrendering in faith. And so this idea of me creating my life, in a sense, surrender is a very passive thing to do. So how does action come into that? If we're choosing to surrender to the unfolding, then how does action come in the face of this surrender? I'm getting a little deeper here in the
fierce.
question.
I know.
What'd you say?
Surrender is
not
fierce.
passive.
Fierce.
Surrender,
Fierce.
surrender
Fierce.
to me.
Is-
I'm gonna disagree
I know,
with
we're
my
like-
co-host.
What are you doing?
Surrender is it's
fierce.
fierceness
It's
of character
fierceness, okay.
to surrender. It's not passive at all.
No.
Okay, good.
No.
That's what I was
Very
wanting.
fierce to
Explore.
say I
Yeah.
trust. But
It's
I'll
all
let-
about
I'll let
trust
you-
and faith
yeah.
to go, okay, I'm going to let go of all judgment and my ego, which has been something that I hold on to so dearly. I'm letting that go. And
Yeah,
that takes a
fierce.
lot of courage
Yeah.
to just like, in a sense, figuratively meditate, everything.
Here I am.
Put yourself on the ground, lying flat, arms open, going, okay, here I am. That takes a lot of courage.
So I love this. So
That's taking action. That's your first action
It is
step.
taking action. Surrender is one of the ultimate biggest steps of action, but it's an action in alignment to something bigger than you.
Exactly. That you then listen and then you can move.
And so often, on this. In terms
we're
of
not fighting.
in terms of this life unfolding in alignment with our highest self through surrender, I can think of being controlled, a lot of times being controlled by our mind. And so maybe I'm dissecting a little further the conversation, this idea that we need reprogram our self-sabotaging beliefs, our patterning, often in my experience, where I've made tremendous breakthroughs is where I was able to identify that voice in my head that maybe was telling me something and controlling me, to where I was able to get clear enough on the voice where I could start saying no more, and then start repatterning it.
Right.
So in a way, for me, surrender has been saying no more to this voice that's kind of painting this
is
kind
the
of
ego?
dark picture. I would say so. And then surrendering to life and having faith as it unfolds.
Being
And
connected to your higher purpose.
Higher
infinite
purpose.
Intelligence, God, the universe, whatever you
so in a
call it.
way, you're often kind of wanting to hear the way the clients are kind of talking to themselves in their head, so you can kind of
Yes. And then-
reposition that or resolve that with them
Great way to
to,
put it,
to
yeah.
clear it away so they can allow for life to unfold.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And then take those inspired actions.
Yeah, and I can
And
see how
taking the
you're...
inspired action.
I can see how your coaching would just fit really beautifully into that advice you had for those that can't necessarily come to your coaching. You know, all the guidance you said, and then now you're the coach in the face of this strong foundation of removing ourselves from the external input, starting to learn to come to ourselves, to access our inner voice, and to start to surrender and listen to that inner voice as we bring ourselves in the
a
world.
beautiful way.
And having a coach alongside of us in the face of that, I'm resonating with that myself.
You said it perfectly. I
Thank
love
you.
It. I'm
Thank
like, I'm
you.
gonna have to copy this.
So,
It's on.
it's on camera.
Yes.
So there you
So
go.
this work, it feels personal.
It's very
It's
personal.
very personal.
Oh,
Is
right.
this something that you have walked this path of needing to go through all of these different shifts? Perhaps
Definitely.
shifting your mindset related to how you're showing up in life.
Like the work that I'm doing now is why I think I was is why I was placed here. Not why I think I was placed. Why I was placed here. All my life. I mean, like I think all of us have gone through huge transformations, transitions. Recalibration, reinventions. I know my life has been full of reinventions of getting closer and closer in alignment with my purpose. And I've lived so much of my life in self-sabotage, in imposter syndrome, and self-doubt, and all of that. Whereas, as a child, for the first 10 years of my life, my mom was in the hospital for depression. So, what child wouldn't think, well, is it my fault? Am I not enough? Right?
Yeah.
Or I don't want to rock the boat. So let me be a high achiever, but don't go too far out to rock the boat, right? And so it created all these different thought patterns for myself that I've identified that I'm like, okay, let me heal that and heal that. And through all the different things that I've done as a performer, which also feeds into perfectionism, as a dancer, you're always working towards perfection, which is unattainable, but it's always this looking out from the outside. Am I getting good? Am I getting better? What all feeds the different elements that I've lived through to now go, oh, okay, my purpose is to overcome these certain things, to live in alignment with why I'm here, and to help so many others do the same, because I know I'm not the only person who experiences this.
It feels very much like selfless service in a way, that what you're doing is taking the time to help yourself and then take that learnings and those lessons and be of service to those who need to heal from what you have. And I know I align with that. Daniel aligns with
I
that
think that's what we're bringing here as
here
well.
on the show.
On Everyday Resonance.
And so that way then they can be a fully expressed human in the world of why they came here, because I know for myself, when I've gotten out of the way of myself and I've listened to certain, what I call divine downloads, and acted upon them, it's like, I
Things
create
just happen.
things just happen.
Yeah.
Like, we spoke earlier about my Video Glam Cam kit. That was a total divine download. It's a kit that helps people, take the guesswork out of creating videos. But it was a hit that within 2 minutes, I knew what it looked like, what needed to be in it, and I went right into action. Within 6 weeks, I had created it, sourced it, shipped it. And that's what I want people to be able to get
Tap into,
because the thoughts are things. They go to different people. If you do not take it and do
Somebody
something
else
with it,
will.
somebody else will. And so, but when you start doing those types of things, you feel in alignment with why you were placed here. You're able to fully express who you are. You're able to create the things that you were placed here to do. But only if you get out of the way of yourself.
Wow.
And develop that
This is
confidence.
great. What great information. Would you say that Everyday Resonance was a divine download?
I would say so. Like, we knew that we wanted to bring our voices into the world and share this transformation, healing, alignment, awareness, these concepts were so important to us. What about you? You're like, no.
I'm definitive.
He's not
yes.
yes.
So Elizabeth, it's been really wonderful to talk with you. Thank you so much for bringing all of the
How do we
information.
find you?
Yeah,
I know
tell us how
that
to find
you
you.
have like a 3-day free confidence coach group that's coming up. How do people find that? Join your
Definitely.
group.
Yeah, I have a 3 series.
Oh, 3
mini-
series.
Or, yeah, 3-part mini series masterclass. We'll say
Great.
it that way. In how to develop confidence. And each day we're really gonna dive deeply into going inward. Then the next step of taking courage and taking action, and then the next step actually putting some style to it, some charisma to it.
Nice.
So going inward, out.
And what's the
And
website? Where do we find
the
that?
website is bit.ly/confidence mini series.
Okay, and what's your website?
Yourinnercelebrity.com.
Yourinnercelebrity.com. And I want to say just one thing also on this path to really, inner healing, inner resonance. If you ever identify something that really seems significant, like a trauma from your childhood, there's all sorts of ways to work with that. You can, but of course you want to go to like a therapist or something if there's something really emotional that comes up that is difficult. And then also you can find books and things like that. And then of course there are guides and coaches. And of course Elizabeth is somebody who's very, powerful and potent on this path as well. I know with mindfulness, sometimes when people become still, they often identify difficult challenges in their life, and usually I'll just say, that's something that you'll want to potentially go get support with, maybe from a therapist or something. So definitely, seek that type of counseling if you need it. And I'm so grateful to have Elizabeth on with us,
Thank you so much
sharing
for your
her
time.
brilliance, and we're so grateful that you've joined us today on Everyday Resonance.
Yep. So tune in every day to yourself, and then every Wednesday, 12 p.m. Central Time, Everyday Resonance.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Have
Bye.
a great day. Thanks,
Bye.
Elizabeth.
Thank you.
Yay!
Everyday Resonance was brought to you by Priya Patel and Sunshine Global Ventures.
To sponsor Everyday Resonance, please contact everydayresonance@gmail.com.